Great. Well, thanks again to everyone for joining us. This is our Jira and CI/CD integration office hours. I'm Josh Frank. I'm a product marketer on our DevOps team at Atlassian. Excited to have another crew of folks with us. We've got Gareth Wham on the line, product manager. Gareth, do you want to do a quick introduction?
Yeah, sure. Hey, everyone. Gareth, I've been a product manager working on development integrations for probably 4 or 5 years now, integrating all the dev tools into Jira Software. So excited to chat to you about the features that we have today.
And the other participant in the webinar, we have Matt Coleman on the line. Matt's an engineering manager. Matt, do you want to do a quick introduction?
Yes, hello. I'm an engineering manager on one of our product teams building DevOps features in Jira. So I'm excited to talk to everyone today.
Awesome. Okay, well, cool. So before we get into it, just super quickly, what is office hours? You can think of it a bit like an informal version of a webinar. We're going to do a live demo of our CI/CD integrations and show how to get started with them. And then we're going to just hang out and answer questions. So just hope, if you got questions, just answer, throw them our way throughout this quick presentation. Also, just want to mention, this is our first time trying out an office hours. So if you like it, if you think there's things that we could do better, or if you want to see us do an office hours for other stuff, let us know. We really want to hear from you. So yeah. Just super quick housekeeping before we get into it. Like I said, just ask questions. We're here. This is all about you guys and helping everyone get going with the CI/CD integration. We think it's super valuable. So ask questions, and we're going to get to them right after we do a quick demo. If you do have follow-up, I've included my email here. So I encourage it, just note it down if you want it. Feel free to email me directly. Or I think a lot of people discovered this office hours via a community post. So I'd also, feel free to reach out to me on email. Feel free to post on the community. No matter how you reach out to us, if you do have a follow-up after this call, we'll make sure, I'll make sure that someone from Atlassian gets back to you. So yeah, reach out to us if you have a follow-up. If you're trying to integrate CI/CD and you have additional questions, we want to hear from you. Also worth mentioning, we have tons and tons of DevOps integrations. If you want to see the entirety of what we support, go to the URL on the screen, marketplace.atlassian.com/categories/DevOps. There's a ton of other DevOps integrations there and that's just a really great place for discovering them. So also just want to call out super quickly, with all the integrations that we do support, why we're starting with CI/CD. And the answer is because it's a really valuable integration to incorporate into your Jira software, and it unlocks a lot of new free capabilities. So the value to you is that this integration brings a ton of helpful context into Jira, helping everyone on the team know the status of builds and deployments. It also helps your developers stay focused and avoid unnecessary context switching. Because, for example, they can automate away informing others of things like deployment status. Anyway, I'm really excited for Gareth and Matt to share more. And with that, I'm just going to hand it over to Gareth. And while we're doing this handover, I'm actually going to launch another poll because we want to hear from you guys.
Great.
Gareth,
thanks,
you.
Josh. Thank you. Hey, everyone. Okay, cool. Hopefully you can see my screen there. All right, cool. So we're going to go ahead and just dive straight into the features. So the first experience I want to show you here is the board. So on the board, we show a bunch of different development icons. So you can see here with this icon, if I hover over it, I get more information about the deployment. So I can see if the deployment was successful, I can see when it was deployed, and I can see the deployment name, excuse me. If I click the link there, give that a second, I can see the deployments that were associated with this issue. I can also see the pipeline name, the environment name, the deployment, the status, and when it was last updated. Excuse me, let's get some water. Oh, if I also click into the issue, I can see the releases panel. So the releases panel shows me the deployment information against the issue in the context of that issue. If I hover over the release panel, I get that same hover that shows me more information about the deployment. If I click the deployment, it loads the dev details dialog, and I can see that same deployment information about that issue. Cool. So hopefully that gives you an overview of the board, the icons that we have, and the features that are unlocked with the deployment information. Cool. All right. So the next experience I want to show you is the deployments view. So on the deployments view, we built this to show all of the deployment information against issues, and this is done in real time. So we built this to provide everyone on the team access to deployment information. So you don't have to have access to the source systems like Bitbucket Pipelines or CircleCI. That's all now democratized in this one view. So you can see here at this issue that I can see when it was deployed. So DD4, as an example, was first deployed on the 19th of April. And then I can just get the lineage of that issue, right? So I can see it was deployed to production on the 4th of May, and again on the 23rd of May. So I basically just get a timeline of all the deployment activity against the issue. And this is ordered by latest activity first, right? So the top issue has the latest deployment information against it. If I click on any of these icons, I can get more information about the specific deployment. So I can see the deployment pipeline, I can see the environment name, and I can also click more information. So this will be a familiar view. I just showed the dev details dialog here. It shows me the pipeline name, it shows me the environment name, the deployment itself. And I can also click on either the pipeline or the deployment, and that will take me out to the source system. So if I want to go do a deeper dive on a particular deployment, I can go ahead and do that here. So same with the dev detail dialog on the board as well. So as I mentioned, we developed this experience to provide everyone on the team access to deployment information. So I can slice and dice this information in ways that I care about. So for example, I could update this view to apply the environment filter. If I want to see everything that's deployed to staging, then I can just apply this filter here. Let's go ahead and do that now. It updates the view and shows me everything that's currently in staging. Cool. I can also look, if you're using releases, I can slice this view by specific versions. So we have this one version here. If I apply that filter, it'll update this view and show me all of the issues in that version, and then the deployment information against that, against those issues. So really, it's quite flexible in terms of the way that you can slice and dice this information. We also have other filters like epic and issue type as well. Cool. All right. So hopefully that gives you an overview of the deployments page. It's latest information first, and you can slice and dice the information in ways that you care about. Okay, cool. All right. Next experience I want to show you is insights. So we built these two insights to show you your deployment frequency and your deployment cycle time. So these are beacons of information that you can just get a snapshot of both of these metrics. So first up with deployment frequency, it's how often am I deploying to production? And I can see that on average, we have 5.6 deployments a week. This dotted line here represents the 12-week rolling average. So on a week-by-week basis, you can see how you're performing against your 12-week rolling average there. I can also see the number of deployments that we made last week, and if that's trending above or below the average, and that's indicated by this number here. On the cycle time shows you that first commit through to that commit, making it into production and environment being deployed. I can see here that our average cycle time is 6 days, 21 hours. I can also see that 12-week rolling average, and I can see the weekly trend as well via these bars here. We can see the median for the week, and again, we show an indication of whether that's above or below the average. Cool. You'll notice that we have these full page reports as well. So I'll go ahead and dive into those. So first up with cycle time, you'll be familiar with this bar here, or this chart. This shows you the weekly breakdown of your cycle time, similarly to that insight that we showed on deployments. We show the 12-week rolling average, and then you can select which week if you want to do a deeper dive into that specific week. So for the one that we've selected here, we've got May 15th. And then if I scroll down here, this basically shows me my cycle time for issues. And what we're looking for here is an exception or an outlier. So you can see anything above the line exceeds the average. And then we provide more information about that specific issue. So you could see your cycle time overall, right? That's the intent here. We can also start to show you things like how much, what was the review time, or how many PRs were associated with this particular issue. And is that any correlation or indication as to why that issue has exceeded the average cycle time? Cool. I can select different weeks, either via the dropdown or via the chart here. Cool. So that's the full page cycle time report. And then flipping into the deployment frequency report, again, similar behavior here. We can select between the different weeks. We show you the 12-week rolling average as well. And then if for a given week, we can look at the number of deployments and the number of issues that are associated with those deployments. That shows you batch size. So basically what we're trying to drive here is smaller batch sizes, and that you're deploying more frequently as a ways to manage your risk and mitigate the number of changes that are being deployed at any one time. Yeah, and then similarly with deployment frequency, we show some additional information and some additional context about the deployments, and it's ordered by the highest number of issues per deployment first, as that is the most important information that we think you should care about. Reducing that batch size is important in terms of managing your risk there. Cool. All right. Hopefully that covers cycle time and deployment frequency. The next thing I want to show you is the automation capabilities that you can enable once you start sending deployment information through to us. I have created just a sample one, but I'll also show you some other automation rules that you can set up in a second. Cool. So this automation rule here I've got shows me that the trigger is when a deployment succeeds in the staging. And then we can have the system perform a bunch of different actions. In this example, I've said when a deployment succeeds in staging, then I want to send an email to a nominated email address. Right now, I've just put my email address in, but you can imagine that if a deployment goes to staging, you could email your QA team so that they know that they can start testing that issue. So just an example of an automation rule there that you can set up. And then I did promise to show other rules as well. So let me just jump in here. Just filter by deployments. Incidentally, automation is available in your project settings, right? So I'll just go back to the main navigation. So project settings and automation. You do need to be a project admin to access that, by the way. Just give that a second to load. Okay, cool. All right, so if I go create rule, and then DevOps integrations, So here we can see that we can have a trigger around when a deployment status was changed, when a deployment failed, or when a deployment was successful. So if we look at, let's choose this one. So if a deployment fails in production, I'm just going to save that quickly. These are the actions that are available to you. So we have a bunch of recommended actions. We can have Jira take actions in Jira itself. So you could update an issue, but we can also have Jira update third parties here. So you can see there's some actions here around updating AWS, restarting VMs in Azure, creating branches in GitHub. And then there's a bunch of other things that we can do here. So we can perform issue actions, can send notifications. That was that example that I showed with staging. So maybe, you're using Slack and a deployment's failed. You want to notify your team about that. That's possible to set up via the automation capabilities here. Cool. So hopefully that gives you an overview of automation. These are all available based on the deployment triggers that we have implemented. Cool. All right. So the next thing I want to show you is search. So our search capability is called JQL. So you can actually run different searches to return issues that match certain criteria. So for example, here I'm showing issues that are done, but are not in production. So maybe that's an indication of some sort of smell that you might want to investigate, that the issue is done itself, but it hasn't made its way to production yet. So you can return all of the issues that match that criteria. Or another search that I've got set up here is show me all of the issues that are currently in production. Right, maybe we want the QA team to go do a smoke test of these issues. Then I can run this search and kind of systematically work through smoke testing those issues. And then this one, another example would be show me everything that's on staging and available to test. You can obviously do that via the deployments view, but this is just another example of how you can get that information. I will link this page in the community post that Josh has created. This shows you all of the different developer JQL searches that you can make. So it's a full kind of canonical reference of everything that we support there. Great. I think that is it from me. Hopefully that gives you a good overview of all the features that are powered by deployments. And I'll pass over to Matt actually now to walk through how you can get set up and get started. Cool. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Gareth. I can't believe how many features we have for deployments. I thought, when is he going to stop? All right. So now that we're excited about all the features that we have for deployments, I'm going to show you how to install deployments and get you using it. So let's do a little sharesy. All right, so here's my Jira board. It's a pretty simple one. We're either making a pie or we're making cheese. And what I want to do is I want to hook up deployments to this Jira site or project. I did have a look at the poll that we did earlier, and I saw that people are using Bitbucket Pipelines, GitHub Actions, Jenkins, and we support all of these different types of deployments. So I'm going to show you, first of all, how to connect Bitbucket Pipelines. So if I jump into the code tab here, which should be, this is enabled by default. If it's not there for whatever reason, you can always go into project settings and you can go to features, and then you can turn on your code page or security page or deployments page here. So in the code page, it shows us that Bitbucket is connected. So Bitbucket is super easy because it will be connected, and we can just go and check the app configuration here. And what I want to do is I want to link the Bitbucket Cloud workspace. So I have to, oh, that was not the right one, this one. I just want to grant access to my site. Okay, so now we are connected. Great, so now I can see my repo here, and I'm connected to Bitbucket. This happens in the DVCS accounts page, which you don't really need to know what that is. That's the mechanism that connects it all together. But we are linked. So let's go back into our project. And we can go back to the code page. And so I've linked up that Bitbucket repo now. So if I go into Bitbucket, what was that? Mat test. Okay, so let's go to the README, and I can do a little edit. I'm going to add the number 12 here, commit that. And so all I have to do now is I have to go and decide which issue I'm going to commit to. So I think DT6, this is my issue key here. So if I right click this, I can copy, or I can go to create commit, and I can copy the issue key from here, or I can even go here and copy the commit message here. So in this instance, I'll just copy the issue key, and then we'll go over to Bitbucket, and in the commit message, I just need to paste that issue key there. So we can commit. That's going to go straight into the main branch, and then we can have a look at pipelines. So there it goes, it's off, it's deploying. I've set up continuous deployment. So it's in progress, and that's going to deploy pretty soon. There it goes, successful. Then I can have a look in my deployments tab in Bitbucket, and we can see that it deployed to staging. If I wanted to go to production, I can click promote. So let's jump back into Jira now. And I referenced DT6. So let's go back to the board, and you can see that our deployment popped up right there. So super nice that I can see that on the board. I can click into it, and again, that's on staging. So Bitbucket is incredibly easy to set up. All I had to do was click that one connection and say, let's go, and then pipelines all works. Now I want to show you how to set up GitHub, because GitHub is also very easy. The difference between Bitbucket Pipelines and GitHub Actions and Jenkins are all the other offerings you'll have to install an app for. So let me show you how to do that. What we have to do is we have to go to the Manage Apps page. Now, if you can see Manage Apps, it means you're a site admin, and that means you can install an app on your site. If not, you can request your site admin to install. So let's go to Explore Apps, and anyone can see this. And so then we can find GitHub, And sometimes it's not the first one. You kind of have to look through and you say, all right, this one has got 143,000 installs, GitHub for Jira. This is the one. So let's click on this one. Now, again, because I'm a site admin, I can click Get App. If you're not a site admin, it will say request install here. So you can request your admin to install this app. Okay, so GitHub for Jira was added. I'm going to click Get Started. Connect my GitHub org, GitHub Cloud. And I will connect this org here. Now, by default, it will give access to all of my repositories. I can change that here by clicking Edit, but I'm happy with that. So we'll just wait and see that finishes, or perhaps we'll just trust it, and I think it will finish very soon. So let's go back here. GitHub is all connected. Again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go to, this is the org that I connected, and therefore this repo is connected to. So we'll go into the code and we'll have a look at this. This is called mat test public, the repo. Actually, I'm going to open up my code editor for this one. And we can start making a change. So in this example, I think this time I'm going to be making cheese. So we'll save that. And then in my editor, I'm going to git add. And now I need to type that commit message. So let's go back into Jira, back into my project, making cheese, create commit, and I'll copy that commit message. Okay, so when I paste it in, we can see git commit -m, that's for message, DT8, that's my Jira issue key. And as I said, we are making cheese. So we push that. And there we go. Let's see what happened. All right, so now we see that I have a branch, a commit actually. And what happened there is my commit happened really quickly, and then it took a while and it did the build, and then it actually did a production deployment. So if I go back to the board, we can see that that commit is now being replaced by a deployment because that is the most significant piece of information there. So how did that all happen? Let's just have a quick look at GitHub. When I pushed that latest commit, it ran my GitHub action. So you do need to set up GitHub actions if that's what you're using. But you know, I had it all set up and it's that easy. I think there's not much more to show here. This is for both examples, Bitbucket Pipelines and GitHub Actions. That was pretty painless. And same thing for Jenkins, and there's plenty more apps on there, CircleCI. So I hope that you found that useful, and I can throw it back to the panel.
Awesome. Matt, thanks so much. Gareth, thanks so much. So now we're just going to go through Q&A. So if you have Q&A, again, feel free to ask, and I'll just go through them. The first one, mega softball, is where can we see a copy of this recording when it's over? And you know what? I'm just going to take the recording, and I'll post it on the community post that I just shared. So check back in that community post. Great place to correspond with us, just in general. I should have the recording up, within 24 hours. Matt, you answered this one. Maybe I can just throw this one to you. So you said, someone asked, branches are associated with an issue, sometimes more than one issue in a branch. They are merged into a release branch. So the same issue can be deployed more than once from different branches. How does that work in the deployments tab experience?
Yeah, so I actually saw a pretty good diagram that explains this. Let me share my screen again. So this is the GitHub for Jira documentation. I just showed you the GitHub for Jira app that we installed. It's open source, the app code for this. So it's GitHub for Jira here. And this is just the deployments documentation. Show it. So it tells you everything about the GitHub app. But this is a pretty good explanation of how it all works. And I think it's basically the question that was asked is that when you commit to feature one, you use this issue key, and then you commit again, you use this issue key. Same with these branches. When they come back up, it basically looks at all the commits between the previous deployment and the current deployment. It'll grab all those issue keys and they'll get deployed.
Well, thanks for the answer, Matt. So I saw a softball kind of come in, so I'm gonna lob this one at Gareth. It says, can we integrate both Bitbucket and GitHub?
You can. Yeah, that's an easy answer to that one. You absolutely can.
Cool, easy answer. Another question that we had was, Gareth, maybe I'll put this one to you, is how are the pipelines designed? Like code from which branch deploys to which environment and triggers, and how are the pipelines linked to Jira issues?
Probably more of a question for Matt there. I think he covered some of that with the walkthrough that he just did by including issue keys in commits, branches, and pull requests. That then will get associated with deployments. But Matt, anything to add to that one?
Sorry, my kids just walked in. Tell me again, what's the question?
The question was, how are the pipelines designed, like code from which branch deploys to which environment and triggers, and how are the pipelines linked to the Jira issues?
So yeah, I guess just as I showed it there, the pipelines, like we build the apps to have the correct linkage within the app. So the GitHub for Jira app will do all the heavy loading for you, so that when your commits come through, it will link them. So basically, we abstract all the clever stuff away for you, and it's all works off the commits.
Cool. Okay, another question that came in was, are the CI/CD features mostly focused on back-end deployments, or can it be applied to mobile app deployments into Google Play, Apple Store Connect, Test Flight, etc.? Gareth, is that a better one for Gareth or Matt? Who wants to take that?
Yeah, I can take a first pass at that one. It's basically dependent on the integrations that we have available. So today we have Bitbucket Pipelines, GitHub Actions, GitLab, Octopus Deploy, CircleCI, and JFrog. Those are the main ones that we support right now. But yeah, keen to get the feedback there that getting things like Test Flight integrated is going to be valuable. That's not currently supported to drive any of the features that we showed today. But yeah, we'll definitely take that on as a request and feed that back to the team. I think that's a good one.
Thanks, Gareth. Another question that we have is, is there any way to export commits, pull requests, build information that's showed in the Jira ticket to a CSV? Gareth, you want to take a stab?
That's a good question. Actually, I don't know the answer to that. I think so. Nick or Matt, do you know the answer to that? Let me just quickly check.
I would have had the same answer as you, Gareth. I think so. We can try a quick export CSV.
Yeah,
and yeah, I think I've seen it before that it will export the pull request data.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, maybe that's one that we can take and follow up with on our community post in that case. Cool. Okay, here's one. Maybe I'll start this one with Matt. This is from Jake. If a branch has a commit date prior to when the issue got moved to in progress, does that start the cycle time calculation or only once they remember to move the ticket? Are there mitigation strategies here, ways to ensure as accurate a cycle time as possible?
Yeah, I think we'll definitely take feedback about how our cycle time works, but the cycle time report that Gareth showed is powered entirely by DevOps actions. So it doesn't matter what Jira issue status it's in. As soon as that first commit happens, it starts the clock. And then as soon as it gets deployed to production, it stops the clock.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. Matt, I think one more for you. This one's about, I think, getting started with GitHub. Where is the GitHub action defined to integrate GitHub and Jira?
So the GitHub action is the app that I installed, GitHub for Jira, will read your GitHub actions. So it's not like I didn't have to do a special GitHub action for Jira. I hope that answers the question. The GitHub action that I used is sort of like a dummy demo GitHub action just to send over a dummy deployment. But your GitHub action will do a real deployment. And as soon as you install the GitHub for Jira app, that's going to work.
Cool. Another one, this is just sort of it seems more like it's a bit of a Jira, getting started with Jira question is, how do you get releases panel to show on the issue? I have the development panel, but not the release panel. Gareth, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, so you have to connect a CI/CD tool in order for that to show. So once you do that connection, it'll start to show there.
Cool. Gareth, maybe you can.
I guess I think I'll add to that, unless, yeah. I think you need a deployment to actually come through. So if there's no information on releases, then it won't come through.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Next question is, what indicates the release type, production staging, QA? Gareth, you want to take that one?
Yeah, so that depends on the pipeline configuration. So how your YAML file is configured. And we basically in the API require you to map to one of those different environments. So the defined environments are development, testing, staging, production, and then there's an unmapped status as well. But that is all handled in the YAML file and the app configuration.
Thanks, Gareth. Matt, this seems like a good one for you. Someone's having trouble getting started with their CircleCI Jira integration. They say, added all the configuration application setup over a week ago. Haven't seen any deployments associated with tickets, even though we've had multiple deploys. All of a sudden today, 2 tickets are associated with 1 deploy, but the rest of the tickets are not. Unclear what's going on here.
Yeah, I think that sounds like we should connect with that person and maybe we can do some one-on-one troubleshooting with them. I'm not sure what the answer is off the top of my head, but I'm sure we can help out.
Okay, so for that person, either send me an email to the email I shared or reach out on the community post and we'll connect with you one-on-one. Okay, question from Carol. I use a issue type release for register the DevOps workflow that is different of the development workflow. In this case, is it possible to link 2 different issue type keys in the deployment? Is this the better option to track the release branch deploys? Gareth or Matt? Either you feel like you have a good response for that?
Matt, maybe that one. Do you want to take that one?
Is it possible to link 2 different issue keys in the deployment? Yes, you can. Is it better? I'm not sure I understand the entire question, but you definitely can link two different issue types or keys to a deployment. Again, the deployments work off commit messages. So if you added multiple issue keys to your commit messages and that gets deployed, then that will work.
And just quickly,
I'm not sure
if deployed to two different environments, Matt, and say like one branch goes to staging and eventually another branch goes to production, will you see the staging one, for example? I think you will. Right. Pretty sure you will. Yeah.
So yeah, you'll see both of them. In the cases in our different features where we only show like one, then production will show because that's more significant. But once you click through to it, then you'll see both the staging and the production.
Yeah. Okay. And if you have, say you've got two productions, then you'll definitely see them both as well. It's all done on the issue keys being in that commit message. That's the core to the integration.
Cool. And I should have introduced Nick, who's on the call, who's another one of our heads of engineering. So thanks, Nick, for jumping in, answering the question. Cool. Another question is, do we have any integration with automated tests with Selenium? Gareth, do you know the answer to that?
Yeah, we don't currently, but there are third-party. Let me just double check that. There are third-party apps that do perform that, but we don't represent that in Jira Software, right?
I'll quickly jump in. From my understanding, Selenium just gets run by our test harness, such as TestNG. And we do interpret the build tool or your deployment tool, right? Does interpret those results, and will either fail the build or not. And then we do show the build failure directly in Jira against that issue that I guess caused the failure. So
yeah,
it depends. It really depends on your CI and build tool. Sorry, and deployment tool.
Yeah, I guess to add to that, what Nick was talking about with showing build information. So yeah, what I showed on the board and the panel on the right hand side of the issue view, that does get populated with build information. It also does power the automation rules that I showed as well. So there's a couple of different triggers for builds.
Yeah, and I think it's a similar answer to the earlier question. I want to confirm with our own native apps teams how they're doing this, but to deploy to Google Play or through Apple Connect, if you're doing that, if you've got a pipeline already set up that's deploying to those things, then Jira will show the result and Jira will link straight through to that deployment. So we're pretty tech agnostic when it comes to that, as long as we support your deployment tool, of which Gareth has talked about.
I think that's the key point, right?
Yeah.
Supporting the various different tools that you're using.
Yeah.
Someone, Justin asks, is it possible to integrate AWS code build, code pipeline for the deployments features?
It is not currently. Yeah, it's not yet supported. But I will bring that up with the partnerships team because we do have a few asks for that. So yeah, I'll definitely take that as a takeaway to feedback to them. Reach out to AWS. Then question from Marco, can I activate an action when a user approves an issue in a UAT environment? Is that a good question for anyone? Is that talking to can activate an action? Yeah, when the user approves an issue. Yeah. That's fine. You can do that via automation. There's a whole bunch of, I didn't show those, but there's a whole bunch of automation capabilities that are just native to Jira that you can have Jira update and respond.
And maybe we can jump. Oh, go ahead, Nick. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just thinking if that question.
Or is it like a UAT deployment?
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
I think this is worth following up on, but I think you can have your deployment pause for a human to hit the button, so that you've got a deployment, you've got a user acceptance test done manually, and then you want to continue that. I think you can automate that through Jira as well.
Yeah, good to clarify that one. Yeah, if there's any follow-ups there, happy to do that.
Like this question, can the deployments view, Varun asks, can the deployments view be used as dashboards for deployments for different environments?
Yeah, I'm assuming we want to see issues in different environments, then yeah, you can use that for you to do that. You also have JQL as well, so you can do a search to match specific criteria to return those issues.
Okay, we got kind of a long question here from Rob. He says, question 2, the title of the environment deploy is using the name final of the CircleCI step. In this case, it's deploy to production. How can we have it display something like production or prod? Do we have to rename the CircleCI step? Matt, maybe, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends how the CircleCI app works. It's the app that will be sending that information through to Jira. So I'm not exactly sure, but it sounds like you might have to rename the CircleCI step.
Thanks, Matt. Got a question from, well, it's just I'll just acknowledge it, more of a request than a question, but would love to see some examples of automated testing integrated with deployment pipelines and potentially recommended plugins as well in the future. So thanks for the comment, Brad. Acknowledged. And one more question is, are there any plans? We had a couple of questions on the community post. Are there any plans for integrating Azure DevOps? Gareth, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I can. So Azure DevOps did have a marketplace app on the Atlassian marketplace. It looks as though there are some problems with that integration at the moment. So right now there's no free support for Azure DevOps. We are going to reach out to that team and find out what's going on. But there are some third-party vendors that do support the integration. I believe some of them are paid. So yeah, the best answer I have is to have a look what's available on Marketplace. And then I have a takeaway just to follow up with the partnerships team to chat to Azure DevOps around figuring out what's going on with the application.
Cool. Well, I'm seeing all the questions cleared out of our queue. So we'll hang out just for a minute longer, but just want to thank everyone. For joining us. Really appreciate you guys just coming, and hopefully folks learned something about our CI/CD integrations. And it is a huge value add to your Jira software when you integrate CI/CD. So that's why we're focused on it. So I hope folks take advantage of that. So yeah, thanks. I'll just check again if there's any additional questions coming in. So thanks again to all the customers who joined us. Thanks to the panelists too. Folks may not know this, but these folks are dialing in from Australia, where it's 7 a.m. right now. So appreciate them. Cool. If anyone wants to connect or have follow-ups, just email us, post on the community. We want to hear from you. So thanks again for joining us, and we'll talk to you all later. Bye.